So we've been doing a lot of work in the area of orchestration and agents and so forth. And we have a customer by the name of Vantic that this thing he was originally prepared for. And what we started to come up with is this idea that there's a rise of a second generation of AI orchestration. AI orchestration is just beginning. And I think of it as the semantic operating system, if you will, connecting up functions, legacy systems, devices, IoT, things like that. And how do you make that happen is just beginning to emerge. And so I really think that the leading organizations are going to pull ahead faster because they're going to create a semantic operating system, which is going to be of a very different kind than simple coordination and lang chain and things like that. And I'm calling those firms frontier firms, and they will have Gen 2. Now, what's going on with Gen 1 and Gen 2 here? Come on, beautiful AI. Go for me. Come on. All right. We have an agent mess happening. I tried beautiful AI, by the way. I hate it. Anyway, that's another whole conversation. And what we have going on is a lot of companies trying to create the protocols like the ones we talked about. And I heard there are many of them, and I heard someone's working on a new one now. I'm just trying to get to the comparison here between old and new. All right, let me get out of presentation mode and see if I can't just get to it. All right, let's do it this way. Okay. So Gen 1, really, in terms of Gen 1 capabilities, the ability for these semantic operating systems, these coordination layers, they're rigid. They generally have brittle agents. They don't lack much persistent memory or anything. They have very poor observability, so other agents can't really see what they're about. They're very much developer focused. Some of them have low code, no code interfaces, but really not that many. And some of the examples are folks like LangChain, Prompt Layer, Flowwise. All right. If we go to what's happening here, it kind of looks like this. You have static isolated, no real-time data back and forth, no device integration. And then in Gen 2, we really start to see an AI and IoT orchestration. And
John, can you make that bigger? Can you like make that?
Yeah, I can't get out of present. I can't get into.
No, I mean that. Yeah, there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. Anyway, I'm gonna try this. I'm not having luck with beautiful AI, even though I'm on a gigabit pipe on a new Mac, so ain't me. So first generation, very brutal. Second generation, this real orchestration, event-driven and edge-aware. And one of the things that, as we're doing this work, I wasn't aware of, and many of you might be, when you start integrating with devices like whether it's sensors or temperature devices or video, a lot of times you have all kinds of issues. 10% of sensors may not have the right information. The amount of information coming out of video streams may overwhelm the API that you're trying to integrate with. So the actual handling of that information. So let's say you need the sensor data, you have to make a decision, you have a missing piece. Do you have to stop the process, or can you interpolate the data? These are all policies and rules that live at the edge. The ability to, what of those gigabytes of video data I have, do I really need to make a decision? These are all things that need to be handled as you go into a truly heterogeneous agentic environment. So that's one of the really fascinating things, I think, of this particular thing. I'm gonna have to go back to here to get to the next slide. Okay, so what's happening in Gen 2 is we have things like, oh goodness, this is not my technology day. Okay. In terms of what's happening with Gen 2, we've got way more dynamic workflows, the ability for different agents to coordinate to solve tasks. So you remember the A protocol came out of Google, very much around, you can talk to it behaviorally, you can look at what's coming out with, you can actually implement some policy into the other agent if it allows it. It's got a passport as to what it's about. Persistent memory, right? When you think about coordination across tasks, governance and guardrails is huge. And this notion of enterprise integration, 70% of AI doesn't scale within the enterprise, largely due to integration issues with the existing legacy systems. And so Vantic's one of the ones, event-driven, context-aware, Crew, AI, Martian, and Open Devon are others that are starting to come into the Gen 2. Let me just end here, which is, what are some of the strategic implications of this? I'm sorry, I'm running a minute over due to my technical issues. One is business model transformation. Organizations that can really do this will be able to send agents to not only within the firm, but to suppliers, buyers, and so forth. It'll actually be like a quasi market. For those of you familiar with Williamsonian transaction cost theory, the idea of where the firm ends and where the market begins is going to change because these agents may or may not be coming into your organization or you sending them out to others. Very different. Definitely redefining roles and teams, no question, in terms of where policy sits. And we saw before that presentation that talked about the leverage that AI plus the team can do. You're going to need new governance paradigms, right? Well, think about how long it took for the capital markets to figure out things like futures markets and so forth. That's the complexity we're going to see here. And also within the firm, we're going to have to start thinking about how much do we hold people accountable for the actions of the agents they launch, things like that. It's going to be very interesting. And lastly, how you think about your vendor ecosystems is really going to change, because this notion of, are you in a market? Are you in an organization? What's the contracting going to look like? A lot of the stuff we talked about around blockchain, which never became real, may become real in the context of agents as we go out and fulfill needs of organizations. So we're starting to see this emergence of the first layer. That's the one people are working on now. But we think already we're starting to second layer of the semantic operating system and the AI coordination layer. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, John. Questions?
Apologies for all the technical messes here. I'm never using beautiful AI again, ever, as long as I live.